to, so the recording has begun. It's 12:02. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for joining us. I hope a few more people join us in just a little bit for our 6th VATI 2021 project webinar on this rainy day here in Charlottesville. I'm Jason Fuentes. Let me start my video so that people, if they want to see me, they can see me. I'm Jason Fuentes. I'm the program manager for the Broadband Accessibility and Affordability Office here in Albemarle County. Our director, Mike Culp, isn't going to be able to join us today, which is fine. He's got he's on the road and somewhere where he can't get service. So he will join us for the next one, but I wanted to thank everybody for coming out. This is our agenda. So we're going to be moving quickly through our welcomes, our introductions, a brief discussion over what is VATI and its role with DHCD. We're going to cover those delays in the project status that we sort of introduced some questions and some thoughts on last month, and then we're going to move into the presentation from Lumen, and then on to our Q&A. As always, the Q&A function throughout today's webinar, please use the Q&A function of Zoom to ask questions. After our presentation, we will open up to a question and answer period. If you don't know where it is, move your mouse all the way to the bottom of the screen and it should show up there. And you can type your questions in at any time as we're rolling, but Q&A will start at the end of our presentation. Mike Culp isn't with us today. I'm Jason. Joining us from Lumen today, and this is a change from the usual cast of characters, is Steve Brewer, who's the Director of State and Local Government Affairs. I think some of you guys might have heard from him at a prior webinar and also over our Broadband Authority meetings. And also joining us from Lumen is Nancy Devaney, who's the lead marketing manager. They're going to be giving us a presentation with their slides after we talk through a couple of things. So VATI and DHCD. So this is the Virginia Telecommunications Initiative. And this is a long-standing program, dates back to 2017. And it's something that Albemarle County has been participating in since the beginning. We, through Director Culp's leadership, managed to score an early planning grant that set us up well for getting awards through VATI every year that they've been offered. And those awards have come in broadband expansion projects that require a public-private partnership. So we always have to have a private partner on each project. The project we're talking about today is the VATI 2021 project. You guys are all familiar with it. You're all involved with it. DHCD has committed $2.3 million worth of state funding towards this partnership with Lumen as our broadband partner. As you guys who've been on the call before have seen, Lumen is the parent company of CenturyLink, who is the legacy provider in this area, and they're currently operating under the name Quantum Fiber. As an update, because I know that people are going to ask, yes, the State Corporation Commission of Virginia has approved the transfer of assets. That still isn't expected to happen, and Steve can update us on this until August. So the names that we're talking about today are still Lumen, CenturyLink, and Quantum, with Quantum being the brand under which this project is actually being deployed. And this project involves 10 project areas. So each of you's in one of those project areas. Some of them have launched, some of them we're still awaiting some more updates. And it is 1,600 passings. If you don't know what passing means, that it is a parcel of land that can be addressed. And over 1,600 passings. This is a really big expansion project for us. And we're really excited to be able to offer this as an opportunity to our residents. And we are excited to have Lumen as our partner. Last month, we discussed some delays. These were delays related to supply and labor material sourcing issues. And we were really, we were disappointed that we had to announce those. We were really on track to stay on schedule. And we are actually really delighted to be able to say that since our last webinar, the delayed areas, Tillman Merriweather, Snow Hill Lane, and Gilbert Station have all launched. Any of you that are in those areas, if you haven't been to q.com yet, head over to q.com. You can learn more details about the process in just a couple minutes. But if you haven't, go over to q.com. check your address, get yourself signed up. And if there are any issues with that process, feel free to email us, baao@albemarle.org. You guys know the email address, and let us know what issues you have. Sometimes that there's something that we can work through. Other times we might need to let you know that we're going to have to look at this further. But if you have any issues, let us know. Otherwise, hop onto q.com and sign up. The advanced mills and Frey Road areas were kind of put in a little bit of a question mark. The work is continuing, and we are planning a launch in June. I'm sorry, Lumen is planning a launch in June. We don't have additional updates about when the work's going to resume. Obviously, we're having a rainy day today. It's a little hard to go digging in the ground when it's all mud. But hopefully, if anybody has any questions about that, you guys can pipe up during the Q&A. And I want to say, we talked at the beginning as we started doing this, which remarkably was 6 months ago, as we started doing these webinars. We talked about how we've done these projects several times in the past. And each time we try to learn. This has been a project that has had lots of learning opportunities. There have not been challenges. And so I want to let you guys know, our office, the whole reason that we're here is to make sure that when we have these challenges, when we're facing these sorts of issues that sometimes come up, we're there to interface with you guys, recognize where the problems are, and then connect with Lumen, connect with all of our partners to make sure that we have a resolution, a positive resolution to all of the issues that might come up. So that is still our goal, and that is still our expectation. That doesn't mean that we're not going to change until the end of this project. That means that we're going to change, we're going to address issues as they come up. So if anything happens, feel free, baao@albemarle.org. And with that, we are going to kick it over to Steve Brewer from Lumen to give their update on this project so far.
Well, I need to come off mute. Good afternoon, Jason and everyone. Thank you for having us today. As you mentioned, I've got Nancy Divinay with us. Also, Heather Lee with our compliance team is joining us, and then Dolores Carroll, who's part of our regulatory and governmental affairs team. But again, thank you for the opportunity to provide updates today. And if Jason, if you want to go to the next slide, we'll jump right in. So as Jason mentioned, we have had some launches as of late. The Tillman Merriweather, Snow Hill Lane, and Gilbert Station Road have all recently launched. So customers are certainly able to take order, or we're certainly able to take orders from customers there. And we will also be walking through the order. Nancy will specifically be walking through the ordering process later in just a bit to cover that subject for us. So as Jason mentioned, the Advanced Mill Frey Road projects scheduled to launch in June. And then the remaining projects that you see, particularly the Box Holly, Taylor's Gap, Rosemont, and then the Campbell, Coban, and Stony Point projects. We will be updating this slide here before the next meeting to indicate some additional dates associated with those. We're going to basically break those larger projects into smaller groups. So we'll be providing a bit more information in that regard by the time we do this presentation next month. You want to move forward? And this is just a map representation of really the same information that was provided on the previous slide. This shows we refer to them as polygons as to the areas that are specifically being turned up and targeted on these specific dates. But again, next turn up will be in June. And again, we will also update this slide, particularly for the last two projects listed here, to break them up into smaller projects. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Nancy. Nancy's going to walk us through our ordering and installation process, as there's been some updates there and some improvements to that process. Nancy?
Hi, thanks for letting me join you today. So are you gonna drive Steve or Jason?
Jason's your driver.
Okay, I'll tell you when to move to the next slide. So
That
okay,
works.
okay,
Just
so
let
the
me know.
slide you're on, okay, slide you're on is perfect right now. So just to walk you through what to expect for the ordering process for fiber internet, I just want to talk a little bit about the benefits of fiber internet first of all. So fiber optic internet uses light pulsing through the special glass cables to move information at nearly the speed of light. It's an ultra fast broadband connection that'll have enough speed to handle all your devices simultaneously, as well as power small business. Most households today, we have a lot of connected devices. We have our mobile phones connected to the internet, tablets, gaming devices, TVs, even refrigerators can be connected. So quantum fiber that quantum fiber internet allows you to connect all those devices. So you can play games, stream shows, chat online. We have no data caps, contracts, or bundles. And fiber really provides a reliable, scalable internet connection. So if you have service in the VATI grant area today, then you're under the CenturyLink brand. And as Jason mentioned earlier, Quantum Fiber is the brand that we are rolling out for our fiber internet. So the new fiber product uses this next generation systems for fiber ordering. It's our inventory system. It's a whole new digital platform under the Lumen umbrella of products. Quantum Fiber offers a fully digital online experience. You will place your order online. You will not call into an 800 number. You'll simply go to q.com. So as mentioned, we're installing fiber optic cables to the homes right now in the Grant area. We complete the construction and roll out our fiber internet in a phased approach. So not all households will turn up at the same time. And Jason mentioned earlier some of the areas that we have turned up. So we have quite a few more yet to go. So you'll be notified when your home is ready for fiber internet, and at that time you'll go to q.com. If your home isn't quite ready, you can enter your name to be notified, q.com, and I'll show you that in a few more slides. Quantum Fiber is a prepay platform, so you will need an email address and a credit card to place your order. And because this is fiber-based internet, you're going to need that fiber drop. The fiber drop brings that fiber into your home. So there'll be some delays initially. You might have a 10-day business due date. That is to give us time to do a site visit. We need to come to your address. We need to take measurements for the drop, and then allow time for our third-party contractor to come bury the drop. Also, a fiber internet installation requires a technician to come to your house. So someone 18 years of age or older needs to be at home at the time of the installation. So going to the next slide. This is just the first page that you'll see when you go to www.q.com. So from here, if you click on the check availability, and the next slide, please. This is where you'll actually enter your address. You'll enter your address here, and then click check availability. And the next slide. Okay, the first thing that you'll see is an opportunity to select the speed. So we offer 200 megabits and 940 megabits. So you just click on one of those boxes and then you select continue. Next slide. This is where you select your modem. At this time, we are offering our modem at no charge. So you can select the modem that's on the left there, and then you'll select continue. Next slide. This is where you choose your installation date. So it's going to give you the next available date. You can't move that any sooner, but you could move it out later. So you can move it farther into the future. Also, we assign those in 2-hour windows of arrival. So you could select a different arrival time. But you'll want to fill out all the information, your email address, a number we can reach you at. And then there's some information that you can review. And you'll actually need to check that box before you can proceed. So when you've done that, you can select continue. And we'll go to the next slide. This is a chance for you to review. So on the left side, it's talking about the speed that you chose, the time and date of your installation, and then one more time confirming your address. The middle part does give you some information about the rates. It also will tell you what's due now, what to expect on your upcoming bills. And then I want to draw your attention to the bottom left side of the screen. In every window, and I didn't put it on all the slides, but there's a chat box down here. At any time, you can click to chat with an agent. So whenever you, if you get stuck, if you have a question, go to that click to chat. In this particular case, after you've reviewed all the information available on this screen, you're going to select continue and go to the next slide. This is a slide again where you can enter your account information and kind of review. On the left side, you're still seeing your review of what you entered. You're going to enter your account information. If you're a business, this is where you're going to enter your business name. And then you're going to select continue again. The next page actually takes you into doing your credit card piece, which I didn't print out and include it, but there's another page where you enter your credit card information. After you've completed that part, you will get this thanks for ordering Quantum Fiber confirmation page. At the top, you'll notice it says that an email has been sent. So right here is where one more time, you're just kind of reviewing what you've got. And then the next slide, go to the next. And then this is just a quick example of a confirmation email. So you've entered your email address. You'll get a confirmation email that says your order has been placed with us. Okay, next slide. So if you're an existing CenturyLink customer today, you will have a little bit different process. As a CenturyLink customer, our fiber success team will help you through this process. So again, you'll use that click to chat, and they are going to walk you through a little bit different process, because as an existing customer, we're obviously going to transition your service from that CenturyLink HSI that you might have on copper to fiber. So you'll click right there, and then they'll walk you through the rest of it. So the only time you need to click that is if you are existing today with CenturyLink. Okay, slide 16, or the next slide. So if you go in there and your address is not available yet for Quantum Fiber, this is where you will put your contact information. If you notice at the bottom of the screen where it's circled, those first few letters, notify me, or first words, under the notify me when Quantum Fiber internet becomes available, select the words notify me, and you'll go to the next slide. And this is where you'll put in your contact information. You'll go ahead and select the stay up to date button at the bottom. So you need to fill all this in, check the required boxes, select the stay up to date button at the bottom, and then go to the next slide. And you'll get a confirmation that just says you're on the list, and you'll receive communication when Quantum Fiber internet is available at your home. Okay, so if you have voice service today, so the next slide is our connected voice. Connected voice is a prepaid voice over internet protocol, or called VoIP. Essentially, this means it's a digital phone service provided through your internet connection. So connected voice offers all the features of traditional telephones like caller ID, call waiting, voicemail, etc., plus advanced features not available for most traditional telephone services, such as voice to email and email notifications. So connected voice can only be added after your fiber internet installation is complete. So after your internet is complete and you've set up your Quantum Fiber account, on the next slide, ordering, you'll go to the next slide. Ordering is really quite easy. You go back to q.com, sign into your account, and if you look at the upper left-hand side, there's a little word that says shop. So under the shop tab, you select the connected voice service that's right for you. There's a basic services most popular with our residential customers, And then the professional service is usually chosen by a small business. And there's more information on the page about that. So if you have any questions, again, there will be at the bottom of that page when you're on q.com to click to chat. So you can talk with one of our agents at any time. If you go to the next slide, there's other information on q.com on our website. There's a lot of frequently asked questions. There's some more information about what quantum fiber is, how fiber works, why it is a more reliable, scalable product. The next page also, if you go to the next screen, there's also pages in there for support. So if you need any help or have questions after you get your service and you need some additional support with your service, there's pages in there that will provide that information. And then if you go to the next slide, I think I put one more, just an example of the equipment. If you have questions about the modem that you're going to be receiving, you could go in and there's information about a lot of equipment through that q.com website. So just a reminder, at any time you have questions, you're going to look for that click to chat button and talk with one of our agents. So I'm going to refer it back to Steve.
Thank you, Nancy, for that. I'm going to go ahead and move us into our Q&A. So as always, the frequently asked questions site that we have, we try to line it up with what's happening and what answers we're getting from Lumen. So these slides, we're not going to run through each one of them. These slides are all going to be available on our website. You can find that on albemarle.org. And these are going to be updated to match our FAQ that you can find on the site as well. So if everybody's ready, I'm going to go ahead and move us into questions. And I'm actually going to take the first one myself. So the question is, how will an individual home be notified, assuming that they are unaware of VATI at all? So this takes us back to some of the prior projects that we've done, where we've tried to do work with our partner to do some mailers to notify people. And what we discovered is that it wasn't the most effective thing. And unfortunately, that's just sort of a reality of mail, that when you receive a little card, often you're not going to know what's on that card because you're not going to really spend a whole lot of time seeing it. You might pick it up out of the mailbox and then maybe it'll sit on your counter for a day or two, but eventually it's going to make its way to the trash. And you might not notice that it's an invitation to sign up for this service. So we're kind of relying on these webinars and the email lists that we have. If you haven't noticed, at the end of every email that I send you guys, I mention, hey, share this with anybody that you know that isn't currently on this list, that isn't, so, you know, that might not be aware. Let them know. Talk about this on Facebook, on Twitter, on Nextdoor, wherever you're active. Let people know that this project is out there. As things start to move forward, as we start to have a bigger footprint on the projects, you know, there might be some other outreach efforts. We're even considering doing some community events to get the word out. But at this point, one of the things that we are actually relying on is these webinars and these, you know, digital means of connecting. Obviously, some of that had to do with COVID. Where it was a little bit harder for us to be out in the community. But we might be transitioning to something like that in the future. And obviously, Lumen has its own marketing team that is doing all sorts of efforts. And so, Steve, do you want to just mention any sort of marketing efforts that Lumen might be engaged in on this project?
Jason, certainly, you know, we have marketing efforts that are ongoing. And then as we transition over to Brightspeed, that will take a whole new flavor. So, and you mentioned the completion date earlier. And yes, we are continuing to look at late summer, early fall as the transition over to Brightspeed. And, you know, we're meeting with the Brightspeed personnel on a routine basis, and really excited about the different opportunities that are going to come from that transition. I don't have specifics that I can give you as to the measures that Brightspeed is going to be taking, but that should be available in fairly short order.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And this is, this is a long project. So even if we don't have, a big marketing push right now, there's still time for it. But anytime that anybody is having a community group, any sort of a HOA meeting, let people know in your neighborhood that this is a project that's ongoing. If they haven't noticed the trucks outside, then let them know what those trucks are all about. And now I wanted to touch on another question that is something we've touched on in the past. In fact, we've got something on these slides. There it is. So the question is, what happens to the people who are building a home in a new area being served, but their home is not yet finished and they are not residents yet? And so the question, as it was in our FAQ, is I'm considering future construction on an undeveloped parcel. How do I make sure a fiber drop is available for that parcel? Ultimately, the answer is email us, baao@albemarle.org. There is an expectation on some of the parcels that they're going to be included, even if they're not improved, or even though there might not be somebody living in them right now. For those parcels where they're not included, there might still be an opportunity within the project scope. And for that, we need to go to Lumen themselves and just touch base with them and see what the opportunities are. Obviously, if it's a project that's not quite in the engineering phase is when teams of guys are actually just kind of walking around, looking at the topography, looking at the roads and figuring out exactly where those lines are going to go. The sooner that you can, the easier it is to integrate. But even if your project area has already launched, get in touch with us, let us know the service address, and we can figure out in collaboration with Lumen what the solution's going to be. And a very specific to the next project area, which is Advanced Mills, expected to launch in June 30th. We have a question: when will work resume in Advanced Mills?
So Jason, certainly we do anticipate launching in June, as identified earlier on the slide. Certainly we have had some issues with labor shortages associated, I would still say associated with the pandemic. However, we do anticipate continuing with that June launch date in Advanced Mills.
Awesome. And then we're seeing some questions, and again, this is the kind of stuff that we have covered in the past, but it's worth always revisiting, because it is something, not everybody's on every call, and it's something that is worth being concerned about. So we've had a number of people asking about the copper landlines. Now, Nancy covered for us that the VoIP solution that Lumen has is going to be available once people have actually initiated their service. But people are wondering whether the landlines are still going to be available for use, and for how long after, in the event that somebody wants to hold on to them, wants to keep their landline service.
So certainly, upon completion of the fiber project, those copper lines will be available. However, I would really encourage customers to move over to the fiber lines. History shows that fiber is far more reliable, and we tend to see far fewer trouble tickets in the fiber line. So I would certainly encourage customers to make that transition as quickly as possible. As for how long in the future they will be available, that really has not been set in stone just yet. Would I anticipate at some point that not being available? Yes, but again, no date certain, and before that happens, customers will certainly be given ample notice.
Yeah, and as you know, as a public body, as people working in county government, one of the things that we have to make sure of is that we are resident advocates, and so certainly we are paying attention to these sorts of questions. We have not seen any I'm vouching for Steve here. We haven't seen any sort of notice that the copper lines are about to be retired. But certainly once that is done, we are going to, we're going to keep an eye on these on our email lists and make sure that if a notification needs to happen about something, we are happy to reach out to you guys and just let you know. But nothing happening and nothing pending as far as we understand.
That's correct, Jason. I will mention that the copper lines, are certainly on a completely different platform as well, and because of that, consumers will get a separate bill if they choose to maintain the copper line separate from the new fiber.
And just to preview the question, because I know it'll be coming, but can we expect that when and I know that you can't speak for Brightspeed, but can we expect that when everything transitions over to Brightspeed at some point, we might see some fusion there?
Don't know the answer to that just yet.
Okay.
Certainly, I'll put that forth and see if I can get us an answer.
Awesome, I appreciate that. And now a question on, and this one I'm gonna try to address it, but definitely leave room for Steve to offer an answer. Some of you might have gotten confirmation from us or from Lumen that you absolutely are going to get service. Some of you might not have asked the question yet, and you might go to q.com and you might check your status and your project area has launched and it's not showing up for you. Again, it sounds like broken record. Reach out to us, baao@albemarle.org. Sometimes there are issues on Lumen side. Sometimes the answer that we gave you, I'm not saying it was wrong, but the answer that we gave you, it might be related to something else. And so we need to make sure that something else is done. So anytime you have that situation where you think that you're good and you put your information on q.com and it does not show as being recognized, reach out to us and we can talk to Lumen and find out what's going on. Hopefully it really is just a matter of maybe there's something on the marketing side, something in the website side that's just presenting a block, but we can't fix it without you guys reaching out to us.
Hey, Jason, I think you nailed that, and thank you for the collaboration and making sure we get any issues that our customers are experiencing resolved.
Absolutely. Now we've got a question, and this one's very specific to the Gilbert Station area. So to give you guys sort of it's a great opportunity to just sort of talk about the sorts of issues that we can run into, and where sometimes things can get disjointed and that creates a whole new set of problems. So Gilbert Station is one of the project areas that just launched. It was supposed to launch a little bit later, and there was kind of an expectation that it would get delayed until June for like Steve was saying, supply chain and labor shortages. And it ultimately got launched, and that's great. On the website side, on the q.com side, the way that things are supposed to work is that they're going to put a list of names and addresses, a list of addresses onto the website that are going to be ready to go, and they're going to set a date for when they should be ready to go. Sometimes there's an automatic set where it just says, well, you put the addresses here and in 60 days, we're going to launch them. And so in 60 days, people are going to be notified and they're going to be told like, hey, you're it. And unfortunately, sometimes that date isn't right. So a number of Gilbert Station residents, they were able to put in an order for service. Their area wasn't ready yet. They wasn't even supposed to be ready yet. It was already, it wasn't delayed yet, but it was already before the launch date. And so a lot of people put in their orders and it wasn't going to be ready. Each one of you should have received a call or an email. Somebody reached out to you from Lumen, and Steve can attest to this, saying like, hey, there was a problem. If you'd like to cancel your order, you can cancel your order. We'll refund your money. If you'd like to keep your order, then when we are actually ready, we're gonna get to you. That project area has now launched, and so we're sort of meeting the challenges there of something on the engineering side, something on the website side. It doesn't match up, and now you just got to fix it. And so we are aware that a number of Gilbert Station residents are seeing these sorts of issues where you already put in your order, and now you try to put in your order again and it's not working, or you get an issue like this where it says our technicians have found out that there are additional work that needs to be done on our facilities to ensure that your connection will be stable and working 100%. So as always, reach out to us, baao@albemarle.org, and we're going to find out what the specific situation is for your address. And if there's a barrier to you getting service, then we're going to find out what needs to happen in order to resolve that. This is in partnership with Lumen. This is us reaching out to Lumen, talking to Steve, talking to Heather, talking to Nancy, talking to the team to find out what needs to be done to fix it. The important thing, and I'm going to go ahead and slide us back. Oop. Well, now I gotta. Can you all still see the screen? I can't talk to
this question. I see a slide that says question.
Perfect. Then let me. Oh, it went away again. All right. Sorry, everybody. This is what happens when I have to run solo. Here we go. All right. I'm rolling us all the way back to this slide right here. And the reason that I'm pulling this one back up is because as Nancy laid out for us, there's a process. And you can imagine that if we've got issues on the website side, issues on the engineering side, they're not matching up, then you might be able to trigger the start of this process with that initial due date, 10 business days, just to get your fiber drop, where you're going to have somebody that's going to visit and look at your property and say, this is what needs to happen for us to be able to actually put this fiber drop in. And that, that might get delayed, that might get rescheduled. There might be challenges in getting somebody out when they thought that they would. So that has to come before Miss Utility comes. And I'm bringing that up because somebody asked, when do I set up my Miss Utility date? The best person the best way to handle that is to, after that initial site visit where somebody comes out, and they might not need to talk to you. They might want to talk to you, and you might want to talk to them. But when they come out and they're going to figure out what the route for that fiber drop is going to be. That's when, if you have private utilities, which is another thing we've covered many times on these calls, if you have private utilities, that's when you want to do that. So that way it's going to be available for when the drop is. If your drop is going to get delayed, if you're worried because you haven't heard back from them, absolutely feel free to check in with us and we will try to find out what's going on. But the important thing is, it's not you put in your order online and then 10 days later you've got internet necessarily. It is at least one visit from tech that's going to figure out where the route's going to go, where the drop's going to go. The drop is actually going to happen, and that's it's going to be done by a contractor. So you might not recognize them, and they might not be the same guy that was there the first time. But that drop's going to happen, and then after that drop, you're going to get service. And so work with us whenever you have questions. Feel free to reach out to us. But that's kind of the expected path. And there are times, as we've seen, that things get even more complicated because of something else that happened. And so we apologize for that. And we are working to remedy those as they come up. All right. And now I'm actually going to stop sharing as we move to the last of these questions, mainly because I can't see anything on my screen when I'm sharing. Couple more questions coming in. Another easy one: does Lumen initiate Miss Utility, or does the customer initiate Miss Utility? The contractors that are going to be putting down your fiber drop, they're going to call Miss Utility for your regular utilities, your power, your water, the sewer, if you've got it. They're going to contact Miss Utility for those. If you have private utilities, and private utilities could be a propane line running from your tank, it could be an electric dog fence, it could be a cow fence, a big electric fence, it could be all sorts of things. If you've got specific private utilities, you still contact Miss Utility, you still let them know, and they're not going to do it for you, but they will refer you to somebody that will take care of that for you. If you're willing to chance it, if you know where your utilities are, you can mark them yourself with flags. Our advice is still going to be Miss Utility. And you can talk to the tech that comes out to do your site visit to figure out where the path's going to go. And to a certain extent, that even accounts for if you've got a really big, long sweeping driveway, if you've got really special rose bushes that are right next to the house and right where it would make the most sense for the fiber to go, and you don't want them to go under your rose bushes, again, reach out to us, talk to the team at Lumen, and we can come up with solutions to accommodate whatever's going on. But you just got to, reach out to us as that work is initiating. Another question, I'm going to kick this one over to Nancy and Steve. Does chat to representative mean an ability to speak to someone or only to have a typed Q&A?
Nancy, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, it is a typed Q&A. That would be your initial opportunity if you're on Q.com. There will be times where the click to chat may give you a phone number for the fiber success team, depending on what the issue is or how complex.
But it sounds like the initial process, it might be, more the traditional chat or phone tree where you just kind of you make your way through the questions, and then there's going to be an endpoint where you should be able to speak to a representative if you need one.
Yes, if you need one, there will be someone available. Yes, they will ask you questions through that type chat process first, and then they'll determine where best to direct you.
Excellent. Well, we are at the end of our list of questions. We'll obviously vamp for a little bit so that way we can get some more. We've got from an anonymous attendee. Are you considering, and I'm definitely going to throw this to you, Steve, because I have no idea what this is. Are you considering using hollow core fiber?
Sorry, I was talking to a mute button again. Jason, I don't have the response to that. Certainly something we can find out.
Okay. And like I said, I am not familiar with the term actually. So whoever you are, anonymous attendee, if you want to reach out to us, baao@albemarle.org, we can certainly learn more about your question, and then reach out to Lumen for some more technical answers. I should have actually addressed, we're still waiting. I'm put Steve kind of on the spot. We're still waiting for the response to our technical focus group questions. It was a great set of questions that we were able to put together. Some of them we've kind of answered along the way, but we would love to see the whole package of answers at some point, if that's still on offer there, Steve.
Certainly is. Awesome.
And now I will, my boss is going to be surprised when I clock out early, because we're so efficient. If none of these questions are coming in, if anybody wants to raise their hand and we can offer an opportunity for testimonials or some allow to talk questions. Going once, going twice. Steve, Nancy, Heather, it has been a pleasure. All of our attendees, all the community members that have been checking in with us for the last 6 months on these projects. We appreciate you. We appreciate you coming out. As always, the Q&A section is the most important section. It's where we are able to get answers out there that are being asked and that are important. So thank you all for participating. If anybody else has any other questions, feel free to reach out to me, baao@albemarle.org. But as of now, I am about to stop the recording and send us all on our way. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.